All right, welcome back to the Sustainable Packaging Show. In today's show, we're going to reveal to you the most sustainable packaging in the world, at least in my opinion. We're going to see if Luke agrees, and we'll see if you agree. I'm on with my new co-host, Luke. Luke, it feels great to have someone here on the show to present with. Welcome, and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It's exciting to be here and to talk about sustainability and more specifically hemp.
Absolutely. So hemp is our big package that we're going to be showing you today. In my opinion, the most sustainable package in the world. We're Contempo Specialty Packaging for those of you who don't know us, and this is the Sustainable Packaging Show. We're going to get into different examples of 100% hemp packaging, different ways you can utilize hemp, as well as do something which is going to be kind of like a frequently asked question, because what we want to do is reveal some of the questions that we've been getting from customers, and Lucas prepared it beautifully, some of the questions, and we're going to talk through many of the things that we think you'll be thinking if you're considering hemp packaging. So we'll get into that in a minute. But before we do that, I want to talk about sustainable packaging and something very important that I think can be what makes sustainable packaging the norm, which has been one of our goals, Luke being our sustainability project manager, our first 100% hire for sustainability at Contempo, and thinking about how do we make sustainable packaging the norm. It's something that we really think about a lot in our approach at Contempo, which is not greenwashing. So, Luke, talk a little bit about what greenwashing is, and then we'll get into how we can make sustainable packaging the norm. Talk about what greenwashing is.
Yeah, so greenwashing, it kind of is a recurring topic which shouldn't really be a norm in today's society. It's kind of a misrepresentation of claims relating to environmentally related packaging, or at least what is represented as environmentally friendly packaging. There's things like, I know you've talked about it before, where people will tint their plastics green.
Oh, it's sustainable. My word is misleading.
Yes.
You're purposely trying to mislead the consumer as opposed to do something that's good for the planet.
Absolutely. So, there's packaging where people claim just biodegradable, and
Yeah, that's a big one today.
you tend to look at it and say, what makes it biodegradable? And a lot of these examples that are out on the market today, there's no real backup to that claim. And
Or in what conditions do they biodegrade? People see
Exactly.
biodegradable, oh, this will just magically disappear, and that's not doing anything good for anyone.
and it really takes away from the companies and people that are really trying to move forward and develop packaging that is truly sustainable. And it kind of leaves a bad mark at the end of the day for the people that are really truly trying to make that effort.
Absolutely. And when we think about the word sustainable, the way that we define it at Contempo is we think about the beginning of life, where the package comes from, the end of life, where it goes and what happens to it at the end, and doing that in a way that the environment can endure. Like going back to the true meaning, to sustain, to continue, to keep up. And we think about our packages from that perspective. No perfection, because there's always a reason, there's always some hole you can poke in everything, but genuinely thinking, is it better than the status quo in those ways? That's the way I've always thought about sustainability. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that about what sustainability, what does that word really mean when we talk about sustainability?
Yeah, and sustainability can be interpreted in so many different ways. And I think one of the best ways that you can look at it is, like one of the things that you've said multiple times, it's kind of progress, not perfection at the end of
Yes.
the day. Making those small improvements to the packaging where you may not be at the correct time or place to make a full biodegradable packaging that has the backup and the proof and the certifications behind it. And
Go for it. I mean, that's you're saying exactly the right thing. You might not have the perfect thing, but we've faced it countless times. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and so many times the customer, they like the package, they're excited about it, but it's not totally perfect. And then what do? They don't take any action. They go back to virgin plastic. So this idea of progress, not perfection, is a very important one for us today. And I was actually thinking about this question. You ever watch It's a Wonderful Life, the movie around Christmas time?
Yes,
the
sir.
black and white. All right, so It's a Wonderful Life. And something popped out to me actually last year, but this year again, I sort of watch it every year as a tradition. There was the guy who's like, he's saying, oh, you got to get on this on the ground floor. I have a business. It's soy plastics. That was the business that he was going to get on the ground floor on. And the movie, I said, when was this movie made? 1946. So we've been talking about this for 46 to 2022. That's, I don't know, 70 years, 70, 80 years, whatever it is, 80. So it's a long, long time. And why hasn't it really happened? So there's a lot of thoughts on that, but I want to talk about something that I think can speak to the center of it and how we can make sustainable packaging the norm. Then I'm going to hand it over to you, and we're going to knock out 100% hemp. And we're going to do one of these every month. So this is the January episode, and we're going to go through the cannabis industry and target sustainable options for every cannabis product. And we have all sorts of materials, not just the hemp. And this can apply to just about any industry because cannabis has such a diverse product line. So if we do this well for cannabis, we'll be doing it well for every industry. There's no reason why a pharmaceutical brand, a cosmetics brand can't use the 100% hemp as well. But I want to talk about a concept. How do we make sustainable packaging the norm? I've been thinking about this for years and sort of crystallizing this thought. And we're going to get the live feedback from the sustainability project manager. I actually told him about this the other day. But I want to get your thoughts on this because I think this is powerful. So I call it the bridge of sustainable packaging. And I'm going to do a LinkedIn post on this as well to do a text version. But I'm just going to sort of shoot this out there the first time formally, and then we can dialogue and then I can tweak it up a little bit before the hopefully epic LinkedIn post. So the bridge. A bridge takes you from one place to the next. Point A is where we are today. Point B is where we want to go. So point A, a lot of inaction, a lot of greenwashing, a lot of people stressed about what's happening with the environment, but not a lot of action. That's sort of point A. And point B, where we want to get to, is a place where sustainable packaging is the norm, a place where there's not greenwashing, a place where we can all feel great that our environment's being protected and where people are taking action and following through. So how do we get there? There's a bridge. All right, we're going to go for the bridge in sustainable packaging. There's three parts of the bridge, and I think about the bridge as what takes you there, what overcomes the biggest obstacle. There's really three parts of it. The first part of it is innovation. You have to have a sustainable packaging innovation that's actually good for the planet, and the word that I use here is respect the consumer. No more tricking the consumer, no more misleading them. Respect the consumer and make sure it's actually good for the planet. I can't tell you how many, I think the tinting plastic screen is my favorite example of greenwashing, but do you have one that you've seen where it's this is just misleading? I mean, biodegradable is a great one, but any other ones that you've seen that are just egregious, some of the things we see in the world today, people trying to deceive the consumer, and that is the wrong path, ethically and business-wise. Forget it, even ethically. I think it's the wrong move business-wise to try to mislead the consumer. But do you have another example besides the biodegradable?
Absolutely. I think one of the main examples that I tend to go to a lot is compostable products. Compostable products, while great when they end up in the correct areas, can not end up in those areas and eventually end up in landfills and impact the environment the same way landfills have been doing since they were created, and
or recycling bins, right? You take a compostable plastic, someone doesn't understand it's compostable, they throw it in the recycling bin.
Exactly.
You're actually doing a disservice because you're harming the recycling streams.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get at, Mike. With composting, it's very popular in the European Union, whereas the United States really hasn't fully adopted it. So the infrastructure just really isn't here in the U.S. And when companies tend to just put compostable on the packaging, 99% of the time, or maybe not that extensive, but it doesn't end up in the correct industrial compost or home compost like it is intended to when they put that on the packaging.
Yeah,
so
or not taking the effort to explain what it is. Rather than just saying compostable in what settings? Is it home compostable? Is it industrial compostable? Making sure that your sustainable package actually gets the correct intended result as opposed to just greenwashing. And we don't think compostable is greenwashing either. We have compostable packages, but it's just that level of, it goes to the next part. So innovation, the level of education. Look at that perfect segue. So
Exactly.
Education. So the bridge has three parts. Innovation is the first part. The next is education. How do you educate the customer on what you've done? How do you educate the customer on the impact that you've made? And I see innovation without education sometimes falls on deaf ears. And I even experienced this early when we were first promoting the 100% hemp. I'm coming out there saying, this is 100% hemp. No one's done this. Contempo, we're innovating. Everyone's going to be so excited. And they were excited. A lot of people were excited, but some people were like, so what? What do you mean 100% hemp? It's hemp? Okay. I was like, no. It's hemp. Do you understand the environmental benefits? This is hemp. And so we had an innovation, but without the education, it was falling on deaf ears. And we're going to talk in a minute when we go into the FAQ about why is hemp great for the planet? What is the impact that a brand is doing when they choose hemp? And that's the education part, which I think is missing. And then the third part of the bridge is appreciation. When you innovate, then you educate, you set yourself up to get the appreciation from the customer and perhaps the brand loyalty. And it's that brand loyalty and that customer now sharing with their friends, saying, this brand aligns with my values. That's how you can grow market share. That's how sustainable packaging can become profitable, ROI positive for a brand, and that's how it'll become the norm. Because I don't live in this world where I say everyone will do it because it's the ethical thing to do. No. Business people, and they have to justify the investments they're making, whether we like that or not. You have to give a clear path that this is going to be ROI positive for you. And I think the innovation plus the education leads to the appreciation, the brand loyalty, and we'll talk about how to educate. But the education is the big piece. What do you think about the epic bridge being revealed to the world for the first time? What are your thoughts?
I feel the bridge is very important to bring up, especially on our first podcast about the 100% hemp specifically. And that education point I feel is just so key. I need to talk about it again. You're not gonna want to jump straight to the 100% hemp without actually knowing what hemp is truly. If you look at it just like you're looking at this folder right here, it just looks like, craft paper maybe.
Yeah, it's hemp. Who cares?
What does that mean?
Right.
And I think once we're able to show and educate these people on what 100% hemp is and how great it could be for packaging and beyond.
In the world.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And once we are able to show and advocate for that, I believe other people will start advocating for the hemp paper as well.
Absolutely. And we're teamed up in a way with everyone who's promoting hemp. There, hemp farmers, you got hemp concrete to hemp, protein shakes. The hemp has so many benefits. It's not just paper. So we're all sort of in this mission together. And if you're a hemp business at all, drop it in the comments. We would love to give you a shout out or help cross promote anything, because we're all, hemp has environmental benefits. It's not just for paper. There's certain unique things about hemp paper, like the recyclability and the end of life, which is why I call it the most sustainable packaging in the world. But hemp as a way for carbon sequestration, hemp as a way for soil regeneration and adding nutrients back into the soil. There's many benefits that any hemp business is a part of. So that's the bridge. So think about innovation one more time. Anyone, this isn't just Contempo. I hope this is valuable for people that work with Contempo for their packaging and just for the world in general. That's part of what I want to do here, and what Luke and I want to do is just give back, have a positive impact. Think about when you go into a sustainable package, innovate, respect the consumer, actually have it be good for the planet, educate so that it doesn't fall on deaf ears. People understand what's the impact you're making. Understand yourself what's the impact you're making. When I started this, frankly, I didn't realize all the impact that hemp had. And this is why we want to share it through this channel. And then hopefully you get the appreciation and the loyalty from the consumer. And that's how it becomes ROI positive. Maybe you're spending a little more on it, but you double the number of units you're selling. And for a small brand, I think that's very well possible, or a true possibility if you market the impact that you're making properly. And now, we ready to jump into the hemp, or anything else you want to add?
No, let's jump right into it. We've got a lot of questions
All
to
right,
answer.
let's dive right in. So 100% hemp. Who cares? Why? What's the impact that we're making? Let's show off a couple of the products that we're making in the 100% hemp first. Let's start with the folding boxes. So we're going to show the diversity of products that are available in 100% hemp right now. My favorite tagline is a future where we're not cutting down trees to make board and paper packaging. That's sort of like the high level. We'll go much deeper than that, but that alone, frankly, is a major, major impact if you think about the benefits that trees have on the environment and you're not cutting them down, let alone the benefits that hemp has in protecting the planet as well. So we'll get into that and a lot more, but let's show the different products, starting with the folding boxes.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at these.
So, Michael, I don't know if you remember this, but this is actually the first 100% hemp sample that we developed.
Beautiful.
And
this thing is like, it needs to be framed in like the Smithsonian, right?
And actually, when we were talking about what folding box we wanted to move forward with first, we thought of the CBD industry and how closely product of 100% hemp and the CBD industry tied together. So we wanted to make a folding box that accompanies, the traditional size of a CBD tincture bottle. So we first rolled out that one, and we also came out with 2 other.
Yeah, let's talk about
examples
the look of the hemp as well.
Absolutely.
And how it has sort of this natural craft look. It's not a pure white because it's a natural product. We can print on it as well, which is to achieve, a blue color. We can formulate inks specifically to match custom PMS colors, which might come up in the FAQ, but we'll just keep this going. And then also the ability to do 4-color process. So 4-color process, custom PMS colors, hot stamping. Anything else you want to talk about on the print finishes for the folding boxes that you might think will be beneficial for the audience to hear?
Yeah, with the laydown of inks on hemp, I feel like it's a very important topic to cover because hemp does perform very similarly to that of a craft paper. It's a very porous material, especially because it's an uncoated material.
See if I can get these a little closer to the camera.
All right.
You can keep going.
Yeah, so it is an uncoated material naturally, and the ink does kind of suck into the hemp paper. So that's why we do have to custom formulate those colors so it can appear naturally as that PMS color that you do want to hit to get those brand colors identified on the box and not sell anything that may be misrepresentative of your brand.
Absolutely, hitting those critical colors. And this is the one, I'm a little away from the mic, but this is the one that Luke was saying was the first original hemp package that we did. And our history in Contempo, for people who are new to us, is beautiful packaging. Beautiful packaging for the fashion industry, 40 years. Beautiful CR packaging, child resistant, for the cannabis industry, over 4 years. So our history was always beautiful, and we find ways to make sustainable packaging beautiful. So you see these things, you don't have to sacrifice aesthetic, but hitting a pure white color. People have talked about that, bleaching the hemp using hydrogen peroxide, and we're experimenting with that, and that will probably come in the next year. But right now, it's more of the natural craft look, or you can flood coat it completely, as long as you don't need a white. But certain pharmaceutical companies that I've talked to wanted the pure white, and that wasn't something that we could achieve at the moment. But if you want it, talk to us, because it's coming soon, so still reach out, still engage with Contempo. How do we reach out to Contempo? wow@contempopackaging.com. I can answer that question. I don't need to, I can ask you real questions. I'm not going to. Okay, so we also get like different shapes and different die lines. You can adjust the size of a folding carton very easily, much easier than some other product categories. Okay, what's this guy here? Why don't we show off the fiber just for the people that are interested in taking a look at the fiber. We'll show it at a distance because it kind of looks like a bird's nest. It's not the prettiest thing, but we have different parts of the hemp plant, right? Maybe 4 main parts, which we can talk about briefly. But where does this come from? Is this the stalk? Is this definitely not the seed? But what do we use to make our hemp paper?
Yeah, so you first saw the boxes, and now you're seeing the fiber where the boxes are made from. And the fiber does come directly from the stalk. And in the decortication process, when they take the stalk and break it open, it kind of separates down into 2 main parts. There's a really woody part, and then there's the nice fiber that you get that you're seeing right here, and that's called the bast fiber. And that is what the 100% hemp paper is made of and what it's comprised of.
Majority bast fiber. So we have people reaching out to us, many great entrepreneurs saying, we now want to supply you with fiber to make your boxes. This is the greatest story, I think, in sustainability, where let me grow industrial hemp, let me use the flower for CBD oil, and then take this stalk, which used to rot in a landfill, and let me provide that with you. We're actually growing this for industrial hemp. We don't use the waste product yet, just in full transparency. But one of the things that people, when you reach out to us, just know it's the bast fiber that we're really looking for, and you can send us samples. Reach out also, wow@contempopackaging.com. You can send us samples. We'll evaluate them and go from there. So that's just definitely a common thing that's come up. So let's answer that. Let's get to the next product. Let's look at some of the more rigid boxes, the 2-piece setup boxes out of 100% hemp. Let's take a look at some of those.
I'll give you one of those samples right there.
This is the baby version. Then we'll also use the, I think this other one's like a weapon.
Yes, this one is quite large.
This thing is...
So we have a few kind of different sizes of the 2-piece box. We have the small one. As you know, Contempo started in the jewelry industry, 40 years in the jewelry industry till now, and the 2-piece box is a large piece of that industry. And so we thought, why not also incorporate the hemp into the jewelry industry, not just the cannabis industry? It can make an impact across every industry that we can think of. And so we started with the small box, and then we grew into this
This giant thing.
large box.
There you go. That thing is quite powerful, and the hemp is such a durable, sturdy, heavy material. If you could put your hand, like, it'd be like the most epic shoebox.
Could also be used as an instrument.
As an instrument, this is maybe a little side hustle that will, So, and it could be used for other things. For example, my wife is off the camera right now. We'll try to get her on the show eventually, but she was just saying wedding invitations, and we just got married and used 100% hemp paper for our wedding invitations.
That's
so those
awesome.
were quite beautiful. So that could, who knows, that could become a business in itself too. If you're getting married, you want wedding invitations, wow, ContempoPackaging.com. They came out really, really beautifully, and we wrote on the bottom, what's better than planting trees? Not cutting them down in the first place. This wedding invitation is made from 100% hemp paper, something like that. So
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. So that's the boxes there. Let's get into the trap blister cards, the ones that could be used for vape cartridges. We're working on making this one CR. We've also got that question, do you have CR hemp packaging? So we're working on making this one CR. It was tearing a little bit too easily, so we're working this through. But this one can be a CR package, but right now it could be used for any product, any industry, but it's not CR yet. But show this one off. This is our trap blister card for a cartridge.
Absolutely, and it actually incorporates two of our most sustainable materials.
Yes.
The card is made from the 100% hemp, while the blister is actually made from ocean-bound plastic. That is something
Man,
that will come in
it's
a further episode, but
It's just
for
too
now,
good to be true, man.
it's awesome. It's a great product. We actually showed these off first at MJ BizCon in Las Vegas, and we've seen a lot of interest around this product, so it's great to see.
A lot of interest, and hopefully a lot of the people that came to meet us will see this episode, and we'll dive more into the FAQs, because in Vegas it's more like, oh my gosh, you have 100% hemp. Okay, here's a business card. And then, so this episode will be more deeper into the FAQs. I'm sure we did follow up, but this is, frankly, we're learning so much, Luke and I, that we want to use these videos also that our account managers and customer service team could send them to somebody and they'll get the info on the hemp.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just more rapid fire just so we can
Yeah.
get to the point of the FAQs, because I think, but just know there's a lot of products that can be made out of hemp. Let's definitely show this one off. Then let's go into the labels, because I think the labels are a great one. This is an insert for pre-rolls. So this separates the pre-rolls. This would go in our locking tin, which is our one of our best sellers. It's a CR tin with no plastic, gorgeous, extremely well priced, and you can make the insert out of 100% hemp. Let's talk about labels now, because hemp is more expensive, right? So we talk about sustainable packaging, often more expensive, and we talk about the bridge, right? Going from point A, where it's no one's taking action, oh, it's so expensive, and now the bridge takes us to a point where people are taking action and they're saying, yes, it's more expensive, but that was a great investment because my market share is growing and consumers are connecting with me and appreciating that keyword, which comes from the education. All that aside, the hemp label is very, very affordable. So it's a great stepping stone if you're saying, I'm not sure I'm ready to make the move or the investment in a box because, my boss is never going to allow that, or I can't justify that in mind. We're not, everyone makes their own decisions, but the label is extremely affordable. So show off some of our 100% hemp labels. I believe we're truly the first in the world to be doing this.
So again, tying it back to the CBD industry, we wanted to make our initial samples a hemp oil label. So as you can see here on this tincture bottle, we have both a coated version and an uncoated version.
Let me bring these up to the camera too.
Absolutely. So the coated and uncoated version, the coated, a lot of these CBD oils, they may have a drip or drop that slides down the side of the bottle, and we want to make sure that the label doesn't kind of crumple under that oil. So we wanted to first come out with a coated option, but then we remembered back to being a truly sustainable label. We wanted to not necessarily put that plastic coating over the label and preserve the hemp's natural feel and look. And that's why we also wanted to roll out the uncoated version as well.
Totally uncoated version as well. The original thought I had was, let's make it the same way that other labels are. They have that capping on it for the oil.
Absolutely.
Sounds like he's a packaging expert. You haven't been doing this that long, and you're catching on to all the key points fast. So we thought that, but then people were saying, well, I don't want it coated. I want it to be the most sustainable label on the planet. So I said, fine, it's your choice. So we have the uncoated version or the coated version, depending on what you'd like to do. If you're like a candle company, then you could go with the uncoated. You wouldn't have that risk of that oil dripping down. But that's why the majority of labels are capped. The majority of labels out there, period, are capped. Like, look in your kitchen, look at the cosmetics or the products that you use in your bathroom. Most of the labels you'll see, they sort of have a shiny feel to them. So that's the coating that we're talking about there. But the hemp labels, what are we thinking? Like roughly 5 to 10 cents a piece. Again, we're a custom packaging company, so it all depends on the finishes, but we've quoted these as low as 5 to 10 cents,
That's
right?
correct. This label right here.
So it's a tremendous opportunity to move into hemp. And when we talk about impact, the education piece of the bridge, and these are just, we shouldn't give numbers yet, but we'll just say we're working on saying 1 million labels means that how many trees were not cut down. So that's the type of impact that we want to start getting into, that as a brand, picture a major brand, you could say we've saved this number of trees from being cut down, and message that to your consumer, which creates the education, which will create the appreciation, the loyalty, hopefully them sharing with their friends, but at the very least, the loyalty to your brand because you're aligning with your values. I think we're really onto something with this bridge, and we'll see if it can be useful to you. So that's the label. Other ones to note, or do you want to jump right into the FAQ? Just we have more. Email us, wow@contempopackaging.com. Know that the first CR 100% hemp package is in development, coming soon, but reach out. You can get on our wait list for that. And if you have a product, you're like, hey, I want to make this out of hemp, we'll try to make it happen if it's something that we haven't done to date. Now, let's get into the FAQ. So Luke's prepared some frequently asked questions for us today. These are questions that I hope will answer some of what you are thinking about if you're debating, trying to justify hemp packaging. Is it worth it? And I hope the bridge, one more thing I was thinking about on the way here, I was saying, like, think about like a Tesla, right? Is it worth it? This is the natural thing that we all think about as business people and as consumers. Is it worth it? Am I getting more value than I'm giving up? If it's just hemp and it's more, no. But if it's, the product has to be priced right? If a Tesla was $10,000, everyone would buy one, right? If it was $500,000, no one would buy them. You got to price the product right and justify it's worth the value. So as this FAQ goes along, I hope you're beginning to understand more the value that the hemp could have for your business, and you don't just see it as, oh my gosh, I'm going to be spending so much more on my packaging. I want to help the planet, but I don't want to help it that way, that much. To, wow, this could actually be ROI positive for my business. I hope we get there. I think we can get there. That's my hypothesis, and we're going to push this one because we really believe in it. And over time, I think sustainable packaging does become the norm. It's just a matter of how fast. So let's jump into some of the FAQs. Let's start with something that's kind of like, just why is hemp actually good for the planet? For the total novice that doesn't know about hemp, what would you say to that? I hope I didn't mess up your order, but I think that one deserves to be number one.
Yeah, so hemp is good for the planet in a number of reasons. I think we've mentioned them a couple times throughout the episode already, but it's a great carbon sequestration plant. It takes carbon out of the atmosphere at a faster rate than that of trees. So why cut down more trees and not grow hemp?
It's almost double is the way that I look at it. Okay, so the trees capture carbon as well and clean the air. I think every human on the planet understands that. The hemp also captures carbon. So you're preserving the trees, allowing them to do their job, in addition to growing this hemp, which is going to have a positive impact on the quality of the air as well.
Absolutely. And not only that, you also mentioned how it helps soil and the overall health of the soil. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I can. I wish you would speak on it because you're the environmental expert. I'm just learning. But what I do know as I study more about environmentalism and practically what can we do? That's one of the major problems in the world is the quality of the soil and the nutrients of the food. And there's monocropping. You probably know more about this than I do, but monocropping and the fact that when you use the same soil for the same crop, you deplete the nutrients, and those foods that we're eating are not rich with the nutrients that our bodies need.
Absolutely.
Hemp can be rotated. It adds nutrients to the soil everywhere it's grown. So
and it plays into that carbon sequestration fact because not only sequesters the carbon out of the atmosphere, but during that process, it adds carbon to the soil, which plays into the health aspect of the overall soil quality.
Right. So you want the carbon in the soil.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's like something that you don't. So how can you as a brand? And this is like no one's doing this. No one's figured this out. These are just sort of high level questions that I want to dig into and explore with different brands. But how can we, as partners, Contempo and a brand, message to a consumer that, hey, by using this hemp packaging, we're sequestering carbon, we're adding nutrients back to the soil. It's not just, oh, it's hemp, so what? We're not cutting down trees. That's the impact that's being made. That's where the education piece comes in.
Absolutely.
So what else? Any other big parts of you not cutting down trees, the nutrients in the soil, the removing carbon from the air? What else? Why else does hemp matter?
I would not necessarily a hemp-related fact. I mean, it is in some respect, but just the unlimited possibilities of uses for the hemp plant. You know, there's plastics, there's hemp concrete. I just saw recently on LinkedIn hemp flour pasta. It's
hemp flour pasta. That's a little. We'll have to cook on the show some hemp flour
absolutely.
pasta. All right, there you go. And I think about it too. As this grows to scale, you grow the hemp. We utilize the stalk. The seeds are used for protein powders, right? Or just hemp seeds are commonly sold product.
Absolutely.
The flowers are used for CBD extraction. The leaves are used for whatever the leaves are used for. Tea, something. There's probably different uses for the leaves that are out there that are skipping my mind right now. If you know the different uses for leaves, drop it in the comments below. You see that little segue there? but you can, it's so sustainable in that sense too, where it's not just I'm growing something for the sake of packaging, but it has that potential where you could actually, we're using the byproduct when it's at scale. That's one of the other great sustainability stories behind hemp. Hemp also uses very little water to grow, from
Absolutely.
what I understand, industrial hemp, or less than cotton or some other common crops. There's a lot out there too. We would love in the comments below people that are highly educated in hemp. I'm a hemp packaging expert, but those who have a deeper knowledge of the benefits of hemp, please contribute, and please let's utilize this as a way to share the benefits of hemp, period, in any industry.
Absolutely. We're constantly learning, evolving, and you know, we're making small steps or big steps depending on how you look at it. I would say
we're making big steps, and we're learning along the way. We're the kind of people, and we just believe this is the way to go. You have a vision, go for it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. For me to know everything about hemp, I'd probably need to take action in about a year, and that's a year where the progress isn't made because we're learning literally every single day how to be a successful contributor to the sustainable packaging initiatives all over the world.
absolutely.
So those are some of the benefits of hemp, and we can think about how we can weave that into marketing, and whether it's utilizing a QR code that would bounce to a YouTube video, bounce to your Instagram page that talks about the impact that you're making. You could utilize any social media platform. You can use it as a chance to engage with your consumers on a deeper level. So these are all ideas that we can dig into as the year progresses, but it's all about the education, the messaging, which leads to the loyalty, leads to the appreciation, I should say.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's the next one you got for us? What's the next pressing question that you hear from either clients or prospects?
You know, a lot of manufacturing happens overseas, and I know that we also manufacture overseas, like a lot of manufacturers currently right now. But where are we manufacturing the hemp currently?
Yeah, so the hemp packaging is all based in the United States, which is a great thing. And we have a hybrid approach. We have domestic options. We have overseas options, China options, Vietnam. We're an international packaging company. Our history, for those of you who don't know, Contempo is in the jewelry and fashion industry, which I said. So right in this building in Providence, we had all of our manufacturing for the jewelry business in Rhode Island. Shout out to Rhode Island, which was the costume jewelry capital of the world in the 70s and 80s. My grandparents on both sides were in the jewelry business making jewelry, and my father saw a niche to be a jewelry packaging company. When that product moved overseas to China, so did Contempo's infrastructure, and we had a small plant here, but we're bringing back the packaging for the cannabis industry, more and more domestic options as we build our infrastructure here in the States and in North America. But we said, you know what, the hemp packaging has to happen in this roof, in this building. So it's very exciting. We have the folding boxes, the labels produced right in Providence, And maybe that's a good Rhode Island story that we can all be proud of. That Rhode Island, that one of the great innovations of sustainable packaging is happening right here in Rhode Island and in the United States.
And I guess another question would be, because this is such a new product, 100% hemp paper, we believe that we really are the first ones doing everything with this. There may be some smaller operations using 100% hemp, but to answer the questions for those who are asking, what are the kind of major characteristic differences between like a C1S board versus the 100% hemp? I know we've been noticing a lot of things. Maybe you can throw one out there. I can answer one as well.
I'll throw a few of them out there. Yeah, there's a few operations doing less than 100% hemp, 20% hemp, 30% hemp, but at scale. And there's one other company I saw doing 100% hemp as a box, which was cool to see as well. We don't need to be, oh, look at us, we're the greatest people, we're doing 100% hemp and no one else is doing it. It's more, we believe in this, we're going to bring this to the world.
Absolutely.
And like that's more of our perspective on it. But some of the things that we said was the hemp box having that sort of porous material, so sometimes like a soft touch varnish that gives that really luxury feel that's big in the fashion world, that some of our cannabis clients that go for the luxury top of the end like. We're probably not going to suggest that on the hemp package because the paper will really suck it up, and it's more porous than traditional C1S. Also, some of the dimensions, like if the paper's very what's the word? It's like not rigid, but it has like a real memory to it. It's very sturdy, durable. So if you try to do like a thin chocolate bar, you got to really score it in a certain way. Not that we can't do it, but it's been easier for us to do like a tincture box or a box. If you have a really thin dimension, that's been a little bit hard in manufacturing. You can do it by hand, but when you put it on press, it's a different story. So those are them. Hitting the direct white is something that some of the pharmaceutical companies or some people that want the white background, that's been a little bit of a challenge. But not to say we can't overcome it. I think we'll get there in 6 months. But we are the type of people, let's bring it to market. This is sort of version 1, and expect us to innovate. We're innovators at the core. We always innovate. We're going to bring it to market. There's going to be people out there, oh, it's not white, that's the end of the world, oh, it's so terrible. You guys can say that if you want to live your life that way. We're going to innovate and keep improving as we go along and bring it to the people that are going to say, wow, look at what they've done. That's awesome. I want to be a part of that. So that's the way that we choose to live our lives. And what do they say? Live and let live, right? We're going to just keep rolling along here.
That's the way we do it.
All right. So what else would you say to that? Because you prepared a lot of the data of the FAQ. Is there anything that I missed there as you thought about this? Because you've been intimately involved in the development.
I would say one of the more impressive facts about the hemp that we found out after running a study against the traditional boards of the packaging world, the C1S coated one-side boards or the CCNB clay-coated newsbacks, that the hemp is actually twice as strong at half the thickness. So you're gaining strength while using less material, which is honestly a great sustainability story in itself right there, even if it wasn't hemp.
Right, you're using less material, and that's one of the big things in environmentalism, right? One of the first things people say, can I reduce the amount of material? So in a certain way, just hemp by its very nature is reducing. And people also say hemp. We haven't run the repulpability studies ourselves, but if you look out there, and there's a lot of research on it, hemp being far more durable, which adds to the recyclability.
Yes. And
you want to talk about that for a minute?
That plays off of the memory that you were speaking to earlier, because the fibers are actually much longer than the traditional fibers of tree pulp.
Back to the drum.
Yes, you hear the sturdiness of that box, and
even just the memory as you fold it, and it gives that premium feel of a product. It's like this is solid, it's premium, and it's environmental. That's one of the other marketing benefits as you're positioning your brand. Excuse me, finish your thought.
No, I mean you're exactly right. Due to the strength of the box, you get a nice crisp feel when you do score it correctly. The memory does interrupt.
Almost locks right in, right?
Absolutely. The memory can interrupt, the production. But we've found ways around that, different ways to score the box, different dye lines that kind of play into the hemp's characteristics that may not be so friendly to a manufacturer. We've kind of worked our way around it. We're innovators, like you're saying.
That's the trial and error. That's the trial and error. And I've learned that sometimes in business, those things, that trial and error is actually good because it's a competitive advantage from the perspective of building a sustainable business. You can't just take hemp paper and run it just like anything else. There's nuances that are learned along the way. So, that's part of our advantage of being an innovator is you learn, and then we can, message out to the world. And we know that think about all the little things that you've learned over the last year doing this, and all the trials, the failures, right? That saying where you fail your way to success. Sometimes there's a time where we're saying, are we going to be able to figure this out? This isn't going so well, but we've persevered and been able to figure it out. So that's great stuff. What else you got for, let's, sort of wrap it up in maybe a couple more questions, or what else gets asked that you think will be valuable for our audience to hear? What do you think our audience is asking themselves right now? Just be in the moment. Just feel it out. Throw your paper away. What do you think the audience needs to know now?
Yeah, I mean, just overall, really kind of looking at your own packaging and evaluating it. I know a lot of places have shown interest in the 100% hemp paper, and have turned it down just simply because it may be priced a little bit higher than those traditional materials without actually giving it that chance. And one thing that I'd like to say is that really kind of evaluate and take a good look at your packaging and harness your own environmentalist and really think, is this packaging truly sustainable? Is it truly environmentally friendly? What benefit are we showing with this packaging? And I think when you look at the 100% hemp boxes that we have here, they tell the story in itself. They're truly awesome,
beautiful.
And hemp is just something that we can really rely on moving forward, and I hope it is adopted widely.
I'm glad you went there. Did we show the 100% lip card, by the way, the jewelry card?
We did not.
Let's just pop that up there, because that was the first product that Contempo started with in the fashion industry, and we're making it now out of hemp, which is pretty cool. And the hemp is so durable, you could actually bend the lip on it if you turn it sideways. But I'm glad you went there, Luke. The true environmental impact, and thinking about that, you can come in. The true environmental impact, because I go to a place where I'm almost making the business case, because I've had so many people say it's more. So my mind goes to, okay, I actually want to see this happen. I don't want it just to be an idea and a product. I want to see this happen. How do I get business people who are looking at the bottom line to justify spending it? But your point is valid too. Like, speak to the heart or the whatever, just saying like, okay, besides the business case that I believe it can be ROI positive, and I want to talk about that one more time before we wrap it up, we're making a positive impact. This is like legacy. This is a decision that you're making. Let's talk about that, because that's what I think everyone talks about sometimes. Just we're going to save the planet, and this is why it's good for the planet. Oftentimes they're greenwashing and misleading people, but even the ones who are truthfully doing it, and they don't talk enough about the ROI and the business case, which is why I think it falls on deaf ears, which is why we've been talking about soy plastics since 1946 in The Wonderful Life, and nothing's happened on a big scale. But talking to the inner environmentalist, what would you say? Do you want to comment on that piece of it, where it's like, okay, what's the impact? What's the legacy? What decisions are we making now? How could you making this business decision not only be good for your bottom line, but the impact of who you are as a human being, as someone that, is doing good in the world, we'll just say. I hope that's a question you can answer and not just a confusing rant.
No, I mean, like, the one thing I always kind of think of, like, I was an environmental studies major in college, and the one thing I think of is, how are we going to impact the future generations? And I think that's one thing that wasn't really thought about when manufacturing first began, back in the mid-1900s, with packaging exploding, consumer packaging flooding the shelves. There wasn't really a thought of how this is going to impact the future generations, the end life of the packaging. And I think that's one thing that should be heavily considered now, especially with the younger generation having a true passion for environmentalism, even if they aren't directly in an environmentally related position like I am.
Right. It's about resonating with your consumers. I go back to the business case because I'm talking to you, people that could make this impact without you guys saying, yes, we don't make an impact. We've made some nice looking samples here. But yeah, the true impact of the decisions that we're making today on the future generations and what legacy that could mean to an individual. I mean, part of this is we know the market. We know you guys want sustainable packaging. Our spin on it is do packaging that's actually good for the planet, and we're bringing that to the marketplace. But the other thing is it's great to work here as someone making impact. Like, okay, when this takes off, right? We don't say if, we say when. When the right people see this, when the right people get the vision, when the right people see that this can be ROI positive. Look at the impact that we're going to be making on the planet. Every job has value, but it's a little different where you can see how directly you can impact the world. Go to jobs@contempocard.com, right, if you want to join us in this mission, because we really we need great people to make these big dreams and goals a reality. Like Luke, look at this guy. You're just featured in MJ Biz magazine, right out of college.
As were you.
As was I, but I've been doing this a little bit longer, and you're doing a fantastic job with everything and helping these things come to fruition. Luke said, I want to take these ideas and bring them, make them in fruition, and look at and many other people on the team too, but you've made a great impact, so thank you. Any closing remarks before we wrap this episode up?
First it was great to be on my first podcast.
This is a pretty fun. It's a lot better with you here too. I did many of these episodes alone, and it's great having you here.
Yeah, and it's awesome just to kind of get the word out there. Spread the word that 100% hemp is a thing. Packaging can be made without cutting down trees. Back to the kind of main overarching point.
That's the Mike Tyson, the right punch, or the right whatever the hook. I don't know.
The right hook, yes.
Whatever his best punch was. To me, that's the big one that I love.
Yeah, and just truly being able to make an impact in the packaging industry, and it's just awesome to have this opportunity to be able to work with materials like this and hopefully begin to change some people's mind on how to package their products.
Slowly but surely, we know it's going to happen. We just want people to jump in and be the first ones, or be the leaders and be the innovators with us. And we look forward to that happening. And I'm going to write that LinkedIn post on the bridge. We'll talk about, okay, maybe I'll give like an example saying, think like a small brand doing 1 million units, and they're selling them for $10 a piece, and so that's $10 million in sales, and they're considering moving to hemp, but it's 20 cents a unit more expensive than what they're currently using. So the guy goes, oh my gosh, that's $200,000 in packaging. That's, oh my gosh, $200,000 on my $10 million business. I don't know if I can do that, but I want to show him that with the right education, the loyalty you can build, the way that he can share it, he might be able to turn that $1 million business or that 1 million unit business into a 2 million unit business. And the fact that he's using hemp gets him on the greatest publications in the world and gets him on the mainstream news, and then look at the impact. You're doing something different. So these are the type of things that I want to prove out with brands over the course of this year. And we're going to be doing one of these per month, where we're going to come on live, and maybe we'll get some other people here as we develop our studio. This is like the version 1 studio. We just got the sound hooked up. So we're pretty pumped about this to bring these great ideas. But we'll do one a month, and we'll reveal the next one next month. And then I'm also going to do another show each month. We're going to call it The State of Sustainable Packaging. So we'll do January, February, March. And it's going to sort of be everything you need to know about sustainable packaging to stay up to date, the one show you need to stay up to date. I'm going to look at articles. I'm going to look at what different brands are doing, just to give you guys sort of the stay up to date. And then on this show, we'll dive into the specific innovations, the FAQs, what people are thinking, to hopefully give you guys the tools to take action in 2022, right? That's the goal, to take the action, and we're gonna keep fighting and keep innovating and just keep at it. And we appreciate everybody. Drop in the comments if you like the episode. Give us a like on YouTube. We're gonna throw this as the podcast too, but we really want the feedback, ideas for other episodes. Hey, that was great, but I wish you talked more about that. The constructive feedback we love. Our goal is to make sustainable packaging the norm. Any insight you have on that, how to do that, we'd love to hear from it in the comments below. Any collaborating, wow@contempopackaging.com. We're ready to collaborate with anyone and everyone who shares this same vision or mission. Luke, it's been wonderful. Should we throw this up as like
yeah.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Great job. See you on the next one.
See you on the next episode.
All right. There we go. That's how it's done.